Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. Al Thani Qatar remain confident that they will buy Manchester United as Joel and Avram Glazer hatch a plan to stay. This is what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. Make sure you get your comments in and have your say on what you feel is happening with the Manchester United sale at the moment. We're going to dive straight into this though. It's coming in from The Guardian. This is what they have to say. Sheikh Jassim confident of Manchester United deal amid new minority investment interest. Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani remains confident he will succeed with his bid to buy Manchester United after it emerged that the Carlyle Group, a US investment firm, wants a minority stake, and the Glazers have instructed Rain, the bank handling any sale, to examine the offer. There is also expected to be other investment funds from America that are trying to get hold of a minority investment, but Al Thani remains confident that he will acquire all of Manchester United for his 9-2 foundation, and he believes his offer will be accepted. He stated that his buyout would be debt-free, whereas Sir Jim Ratcliffe, one of Britain's richest people, wants to buy a controlling interest, but has said he'd have to borrow money to do that as well. Of the siblings, Joel is the largest shareholder of Manchester United with 19.1%. Darcy, his sister, holds 18.5%. Brian, his brother, owns 17.2%. Avram owns 14.3%. And Kevin and Edward own around 13%. But it's thought that Joel and Avram are minded to keep their stakes if suitable finance can be found. So the option of a deal with Carlyle, Elliott or similar investor is being explored. I think that's really interesting to dive into, by the way, because if you combine the... If all the Glazers sell, apart from Joel and Avram, their ownership is less than 35%. 14 plus 19 is about 35%. So whoever the investment fund is, they'd actually have more of a share percentage than Joel and Avram. So God knows what it is they've got planned. I suppose that's a little bit of a worry. I'll delve into that in a minute. But I think the big headline is that I, and I hope many of you, don't actually believe that the Glazers are going to stay. I think that Al Thani's bid is debt-free. It's a big bid, and it's a farewell to the Glazers. And I think, the fact that we've had all this news over the weekend, but then there is a story coming out that Qatar, Al Thani are very confident that they will acquire Manchester United. I think that is a refreshing angle to be this afternoon as we approach, that deadline a week on Friday. Ultimately, I suppose the other side of the story's not been told for quite a while, has it? And I don't know where people, and I agree with Mr. Fry, he says they're obviously selling. I don't know where the fan base stands at the moment. I read lots of things. Some people, I thought they only own 69%, says Robert. I think they do if you add up all the, they do, mate. If you add up all the percentages I've just read out from all the siblings, I think it does come to about 69%, but maybe I haven't done the maths there. But I think that when you look at it, the sale at the moment, there was a time where people were like, oil me up, and Qatar were winning 90% of the votes with the fans, but then other outlets were running their own polls where they were making out that Sir Jim was more popular. I don't know where people stand on it at the moment. I think that just feels, it's a bit like a Man United traditional summer transfer window, isn't it? You're going to buy Pogba, it's really exciting, and then 2 months later when you actually do it, people are like, yeah, we're going to buy Pogba. I sense that in the fan base now, there's just a general acceptance or hunger for Al Thani to buy the club, whereas that is quite a controversial ownership model in the sense that you're going down the route of a Newcastle or a Manchester City. I think with time, people have just accepted it, and that's what they want because they know it's better than the Glazers. Man United, in the hands of what Man City are, there's been a lot of United fans over the years who said they'd never, ever want that model. But I think right now, maybe it's all part of the game. Maybe I've played the game. Maybe it's part of the game. Maybe all this Glazer manoeuvring is actually to, I'm completely making this up. But imagine Al Thani has said, look, there's a bit of uncertainty in the fan base before you go, and if you want your $6 billion, we want it so that everybody wants Qatar to buy the club. To do that, they've got to hate you. We'll pay you to do it. So start talking about staying, and then everyone will really want us. So I don't know. Look, that's speculative, but ultimately the fact that they remain confident, they know that it's a debt-free bid. I think it's a positive. Glazers staying is just a ploy to get the bids up to their evaluation price, as obvious as the day is long, says Sean. Well, I agree. I do agree with that. I do. I think that's exactly what's going on. But I think it's, as I say, I think it's a real positive that a story like this is coming out, because it shows that, and I'm sure there'll probably be a story from Sir Jim that he's positive and confident as well. But the fact that those two main bidders remain confident that they will acquire Manchester United, we shouldn't lose sight of that effectively. I think that's why it's an interesting piece in The Guardian, because we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that Al Thani and the Qatari bid have always remained confident from day one that they would acquire Manchester United. They just don't want to pay silly money for it. And, to be even-handed, so has Sir Jim. But what I would say is, and new information is always powerful information because it informs you, I do find this quite interesting. Of the siblings, Joel has the largest shareholder at 19%. Then you add another 20% with Darcy, another 20%. I mean, that adds up to about 100%. Robert's right, but they've got that wrong. If you add up those shareholdings of 19.1, 18.1, 17.2, 14.3, 13 and 12.9, I think you get to around 25, 40. You get to about 100% there. So they only own 69%. So those percentages are actually smaller when you think about it. But if Joel and Avram want to stay and the other people want to sell, Joel and Avram only own about 30% of the club, with their probably less than that. So how do they stay in control of the club with 30%? Oh, they've got the biggest voting shares, but it's minuscule for a club like Manchester United. It's the end. It's just whether they accept it's the end, and I think they will accept that it's the end. I think, like Druv says, 100% of 69% of the share, exactly. So effectively, we're getting into maths here, but the breakdown of their shares are basically Joel owns 20% of 69%. So really, 20% of 69% is about 14%. And Avram owns 14% of 69%. It's minuscule. This is just not going to work. They've lost control. They've lost control of this football club. They think they're in control because they own it, but they've lost control. They can't fund their habit anymore. They're like a junkie who can't get any drugs. They're out. They can't get them anymore. And I think that's it for Manchester United. It's done. That's it for the Glazers. They're done. And as Manav says, that's 23% overall. They just can't. They can't run the club with that amount of money. With that, it's unrealistic for them, says Luke. So, look, I'm glad that this story's come out about the confidence from Al Thani. I don't mind if a story comes out about Sir Jim being confident either, because at the end of the day, it's a two-horse race anyway. This whole investment angle is exactly what we've been calling it out for the last few days. Gary Neville said it as well. Many people have said it. This is just posturing to try and get the bid up. But ultimately, the Glazers, in a business sense, are screwed. And there's many headlines and there's many rabbit holes you can go down to prove that the Glazers are screwed. As we've discussed, where are they going to find $2 billion to build the stadium? Where are they going to find $1 billion to clear the debt? They won't. Where are they going to find $500 million to back Ten Hag? They won't. So therefore, the team will be out of the Champions League as quick as it goes into it. But the big hint that the Glazers are finished is the fact that they put the club up for sale publicly. They don't need to do that. I go back to November and a conversation I had, and we spoke about it on the channel. If you're Manchester United and you're the Glazers, you never need to put the club up for sale publicly. You don't need to do it unless you're desperate, unless the game is done. You don't need to do it. And pound to a penny of shit, if the Glazers put the club for sale in November, which they did, you can guarantee for the last 2 or 3 years they've been looking for investment, because you don't need to put Man United up for sale. If you want investment, you don't need to put Man United for sale. You get in contact with the investment funds. You let it be known in the business world that you're looking for investment. You don't even need to put it publicly for sale to get a buyer. The only reason Man United's been put up for sale publicly is, one, because you have to list it on the stock market. I agree with that. But also, they clearly didn't have a buyer or an investor lined up. And what I mean by that is, if I'm in charge of Man United and I'm the Glazers, I'm speaking to private investment funds. I'm speaking to people who might want to buy the club before I put it up for sale. Because I don't want to go blind, because what if no one wants to buy it? The fact that they had to go public and they didn't have a buyer lined up and they didn't have an investor lined up, clearly, because we're going through the bidding stage, shows you how desperate they are. They're desperate. The minute they put us up for sale shows they're desperate, because they clearly didn't have a plan. Is our transfer window really ruined if we don't get a statement from the club about new owners by the end of May? Putting all in place takes time, says Sir Jason. Mark, could they take investment and buy out the other siblings? Why or why not? Keep up the great work, says Ryle. Well, I'll answer two of those points. On Ryle's point, they could take investment to buy out their siblings, but the club would still be in the same place. The money wouldn't be going into the club. It would be going into the siblings who are leaving. There'd be no money left. We'd just be... All that would happen is that Joel and Avram would have less percentage of the club. There'd be an investment fund who replaced the siblings. The money would go to the siblings, and there'd be no money left. Where's the rest of the money going to come from for the sale, for the stadium, for the transfers? We don't have that money because we didn't have it last summer, really. We didn't have, that's all debt. So they're screwed. They've got to sell. I'm shaking in my boots, says Lil. And as for the summer transfer window, I think the summer transfer window resides around... Yeah, I do think the summer transfer window depends on how quickly we can get a sale done. I think if we get a sale rocking by mid-May, we can start having an impactive summer transfer window. If the Glazers keep it dragging on beyond that, I don't see there being a lot of money to spend in the summer beyond about £100 million, which we'll get from Champions League qualification and just, core business. You've got to spend something. But look, we need to progress the sale. That's what needs to happen. And also, let's not forget, as the Chad said, would be a PR nightmare for any partial investor coming in. You can't excuse or ignore the fact that this morning we were talking about major protests, which are going to happen. So, look, if the Glazers or Joel and Avram find a way for themselves to be able to stay because they think they can turn this club into a £10 billion club, they're idiots. The game is up, lads. You don't know anything about football for a start. That's very, very clear. You haven't got a bloody clue about football. You are not turning this football club into a 10 billion club because no one wants you to. And if you want anything that's worth money, has to be popular. One way or another, it's got to be popular. So you're not popular, lads. No one wants you here. So you're not going to be able to make this club a 10 billion pound club just because you think these TV deals and the Super League are going to get resurrected. We wouldn't be in it under you because we'd be shit, like we have been for the last 10 years. The game is up. You might think there's a path. You might think you can do it, but you can't. The debt's not going anywhere. You've got to build a stadium and you've got to spend on the team. Where's this money coming from? And you better know that you're not taking dividends for the next 10 years. You ain't turning this club into anything because you employed Ed Woodward for 10 years. You've got no bloody idea how to build a football club. You've had 10 years to build a football club from a position of strength under Sir Alex Ferguson where we were Premier League winners. What have you done in the last 10 years? You've destroyed it. You've took us from Premier League winners to serial Thursday night players. You've took us from Premier League winners with a Premier League stadium to a rust bucket. And you think over the next 10 years you can take us from this low to 10 billion? You're having a bloody laugh. You haven't got a clue how to run a football club. You really haven't. Take the money and run because it's going to get a lot worse. I believe this time next season, the Glazers are gone, says Ray Cole. But it better be before that, Ray. Better be before that. But if you're tuning in a little bit late, the story is coming in from The Guardian that Al Thani and the QATAR bid remain confident that they will get hold of Manchester United, that they're not deterred by talk of minority investment, and that minority investment would actually involve paying off the Glazer siblings so that Joel and Avram can stay, massively reducing their percentage ownership in the club and handing a big chunk to a soulless American hedge fund, which is only in it to make money. And the dream ticket would be that the hedge fund and Joel and Avram somehow take a club that's worth 5 billion to 10 billion over 10 years and double their money. Not a chance. Not a chance. Mark, 2 years, can you call me a legend of the chat? Pratt says, Nelson, you are a legend of the chat. Thank you very much for that. But look, I'm not worried. I've seen a lot of things today. A lot of people have messaged me. A lot of people have sent me articles and videos. Oh, people are going on about the Glazers are going to stay. Personally, not worried about it. But keep being vocal about it. The protests, everyone talking about it on social media. You've got to keep it up because they read it. But I'm not for 1 minute. This, to me, is just pure posturing to get a better deal, and they will sell. Hi, Mark. The worst thing about the delay is that we won't get a new director of football and recruitment staff before the window, says Paps. No, we won't. It will be Arnold and Murta, which is why, as I said this morning, it will be Kane and not Osman. Because if you want Osman, you need a really good recruiter, and we haven't got that at the moment. So, no, I don't think it. But look, it was only going to be a very quick update anyway. We are back at 7 o'clock tonight because we're going to do the Sevilla preview. And then I'm on That's Football for Chelsea versus Real Madrid. But in bigger news, if you're interested in my FIFA career mode, I've got a Champions League final against Real Madrid coming up at 3:30 today on Twitch, which is Goldbridge TV if you want to give me a follow. Take care, everyone. Quick updates. Love this. We're heading into the summer transfer window. You know this is how it works over the summer on the United Stand. So get your shorts on and get ready. We're ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. Speak to you in a bit. 7 o'clock tonight on the United Stand.